Having seen and realized that evil is but a passing shadow thrown by the intercepting self across the transcendent form of the eternal good, and that the world is a mirror in which each sees a reflection of himself, we now ascend, by firm and easy steps, to that plane of perception whereon is seen and realized the vision of the law. With this realization comes the knowledge that everything is included in a ceaseless interaction of cause and effect, and that nothing can possibly be divorced from law. From the most trivial thought, word, or act of man, up to the groupings of celestial bodies, law reigns supreme. No arbitrary condition can, even for one moment, exist, for such a condition would be a denial and an annihilation of law. Every condition of life is, therefore, bound up in an orderly and harmonious sequence. He who puts his hand in the fire must suffer the burning, until such a time as it has worked itself out, and neither curses nor prayers can avail to alter it. And precisely the same law governs the realm of mind. Hatred, anger, jealousy, envy, lust, covetousness. All these are fires which burn, and whoever even so much as touches them must suffer the torments of burning. All these conditions of mind are rightly called evil, and are sooner or later actualized in the outward circumstances as disease, failure, and misfortune, coupled with grief, pain, and despair. Whereas love, gentleness, goodwill, purity are cooling airs which breathe peace upon the soul that woes them, and, being in harmony with the eternal law, a thorough understanding of this great law which permeates the universe leads to the acquirement of that state of mind known as obedience. Such an obedient one is working in harmony with the law, has in fact identified himself with the law, and whatsoever he conquers forever. Whatsoever he builds can never be destroyed, as of all weakness is within. The secret of all happiness. You say you are chained by circumstances. You cry out for better opportunities, for a wider scope, for improved physical conditions, and perhaps you inwardly curse the fate that binds you hand and foot. It is for you that I write. It is for you that I speak. Listen and let my words burn themselves into your heart. You may bring about that improved condition in your outward life which you desire, if you unswervingly resolve to improve your inner life. I know this pathway looks barren at its commencement. Truth always does. It is only error and delusion which are at first inviting and fascinating. Genial friends will come unbidden to you. Sympathetic souls will be drawn to you as the needle is to the magnet. And books and all outward aids that you require will come to you unsought. Perhaps you complain, you bewail your lot. The cause is within yourself, and where the cause is, there is the remedy. You are strengthening the chains which bind you, and are drawing about you. Build yourself up in the faith and knowledge, and make yourself worthy of better surroundings and wider opportunities. The parable of the talents is a beautiful story illustrative of this truth, for does it not plainly show that if we misuse, neglect, or degrade that which we possess, be it ever so mean and insignificant, even that little will be taken from us, for, by our conduct, we show that we are unworthy of it. Perhaps you are living in a small cottage, and are surrounded by unhealthy and vicious influences. You desire a larger and more sanitary residence. Then you must fit yourself for such a residence, by first of all making your cottage as far as possible a little paradise. Make it look as pretty and as sweet as your limited means will allow. Cook your plain food with all care, and arrange your humble table as tastefully as you possibly can. If you cannot afford a carpet, let your rooms be carpeted with smiles and welcomes, fastened down with the nails of kind words, driven in with the hammer of patience. And at the right time you will pass on into the better house and surroundings, which have all along been waiting for you, and which you have fitted yourself to occupy. Perhaps you desire more time for thought and effort, and feel that your hours of labor are too hard and long. Then see to it that you are utilizing to the fullest possible extent what little spare time you have. You will then utilize your poverty for the cultivation of patience, hope, and courage, and your lack of time in the gaining of promptness of action and decision of mind, by seizing the precious moments as they present themselves for your acceptance. As in the rankest soil the most beautiful flowers are grown, it may be that you are in the employ of a tyrannous master or mistress, and you feel that you are harshly treated. Look upon this also as necessary to your training. Return your employer's unkindness with gentleness and forgiveness. Practice unceasingly patience and self-control. Look within, look searchingly, and have no mercy upon yourself. Slavish thoughts, slavish desires, and in your daily life and conduct, slavish habits, conquer these. Cease to be a slave to self, and no man will have the power to enslave you. As you overcome self, you will overcome all adverse conditions, and every difficulty will fall before you. Do not complain that you are oppressed by the rich, and from this there is no way of escape. And perhaps you, yesterday, in some former existence, were rich and an oppressor, and that you are now merely paying off the debt which you owe to the great law. Practice. There is neither prosperity nor power, but only the appearances of these. I am aware that men make money who have acquired no measure of virtue, and have little desire to do so, but such money does not constitute true riches, and its possession is transitory and feverish. Here is David's testimony. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Their eyes stand out with fatness, they have more than heart could wish. Verily I have cleansed my heart in vain, and washed my hands in innocence. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me, until I went into the sanctuary of God, when by long strife and self-discipline you have succeeded in entering the door of that holy temple. You will then no longer relax your faith, so surely as he, in the midst of all his riches, drifting towards poverty and misfortune, and though he may become rich many times, yet as many times must he be thrown back into poverty, until, by long experience and suffering, he conquers the poverty within. If you would become truly and permanently prosperous, you must first become virtuous. You say you desire wealth, not for your own sake, but in order to do good with it, and to bless others. The real underlying motive is a love of popularity, and a desire to pose as a philanthropist or reformer, if you attempted to do any, would be so much insinuating self-laudation, the breath of blessedness. As the effect is related to the cause, so is prosperity and power related to the inward good, and poverty and weakness to the inward evil, whereas love, purity, gentleness, meekness, compassion, generosity, self-forgetfulness, and self-renunciation, but the rich, as well as the poor, have their undesirable conditions, and are frequently farther removed from happiness than the poor. And here we see how happiness depends, not upon outward aids or possessions, but upon the inward life, and when you do get good and faithful servants, they quickly leave you. As a result, you are beginning to lose, or have completely lost, your faith in human nature. You try to remedy matters by giving better wages, by allowing certain liberties. Rare and beautiful is that humility of soul, by which a servant entirely forgets himself in his master's good. But far rarer, with a beautiful and divine beauty, and such a man's happiness is increased tenfold. Nor does he need to complain of those whom he employs. Said a well-known and extensive employer of labor, who never needs to dismiss an employee, I have always had the happiest relations with my work people. Do you say that you are lonely and unloved, and have not a friend in the world? The transforming power of self-purification and self-conquest. You may overcome them by overcoming the selfish elements within which give them life. And it is in these that his wealth and power and happiness are to be found. He who clings to self is his own enemy, and is surrounded by enemies. He who relinquishes self is his own savior, and is surrounded by friends like a protecting belt. Before the divine radiance of a pure heart, all darkness vanishes, and all clouds melt away. And he who has conquered self has conquered the universe. Come, then, out of your poverty, come out of your pain, come out of your troubles, and sighings, and complainings, and heartaches, and loneliness, by coming out of yourself. Let the old tattered garment of your petty selfishness fall from you, and put on the new garment of universal love. Naught comes as ill, and wisdom lends wings to all shapes of evil brood. The darkening sorrow veils a star, that waits to shine with gladsome light, and after night comes golden glory from afar. Loss leads to gain, and joy attends, true footsteps up the hills of time. Kiss. Misfortune does not but cloud the way, whose end and summit in the sky, of bright success, the bitter harvesting of tears. the heartaches, miseries and griefs, the bruisings born of broken ties, all these are steps by which we rise to living ways of sound beliefs. Love, pitying, watchful, runs to meet the pilgrim from the land of fate. All glory and all good await the coming of obedient feet.